This is iOS tutorial 4, and today we'll be going over storyboards and segues. Uh, Segues are a method of transitioning between different views on a storyboard. So what a storyboard allows you to do is have multiple view controllers on basically a single uh, storyboard. And that's unlike storyboards are relatively new. It used to be you had files called .xib or .nib, and you would load them programmatically. But with a storyboard, we can have our whole interface on one board, and we can create transitions between each of the different scenes. In this case, view controllers. So I'm just going to show you how this works. I've created a small sample project already. We have the first view here, and we have the second view over here. So if we can zoom out. All right, very simple. And what I want to do is we're going to have, when I click this button, it goes from the first view to the second view. So what I want you to note first is this little arrow. When you have multiple view controllers, determines which of these is the first view controller. So if I put this here, this is where it starts. I want it to start on this one. So then we can click the object that we want to cause the transition. We push Control on our Mac, and we want to drag it over to the second view. So we drag it, and we're just going to do a modal seg. So it's that easy. From here, it should already be able to transition between two different view controllers. So we'll run it, and there we go. So it does what, as expected, it does that. Now, sometimes it won't always be when you click a button or I click something I want to transition. Sometimes I want to transition under certain conditions, and for the most part that needs to be done programmatically. So here I'm going to show you a simple method of segging between view controllers programmatically. But first thing we need to do is, instead of control clicking on the button, we're going to take this view controller, the whole thing. Now this is the same as clicking this. So, and then we're going to control drag to the other one. So there, we created our seg, but it's not tied to any button or any label or anything on the view controller. So here we have our seg, and the second key is here. We need a way to identify this so our code knows which seg to take. So we're going to call this 2-second view. Okay, and that's important because when we do it programmatically, you'll see later it needs to know an identifier for which seg to use. And then here we have a whole bunch of different options, okay, for doing segs, and it shows those at the beginning. And also you can change the options for how you want to present the second view controller, and you can animate the transition in different ways. So I'm going to go ahead and use the partial curl animation just for show. So we have all that. That's all we need to do with the interface builder. So if you notice, our view controller, our class is view controller. So we go over to our .m file, and I've already created an action here. So IB action button pushed for this button. So when it's clicked, I'm going to do the seg the exact same way. I'm just doing it, we did before, I'm just doing it programmatically. So to do that, we do self, perform seg with identifier, and then we need the identifier that, remember, I said it was important. So we go over here, 2-second view, copy, and we're going to paste it in. Whoops, what did I do? Undo that. Here. Okay, and make sure to put at, it has to take a string. So at, quote, quote, your identifier. And then for sender, we're going to put nil for now. This is just a parameter you can pass. You can put anything in there pretty much, it'll work. And then we run it. And as expected, we have our curl transition, and it goes to the second view controller. The other thing I want to go over here is sometimes you'll want to do something right before we seg between the two view controllers, and for that we need to remember this method here. It's called prepare for seg. Okay. So whatever you put in this method, it's similar to you can think of it like how appdelegate.m works here. Like we have this activates as soon as the application finishes launching. Whatever is in this method will run as soon as, right before actually your segue transitions to the second view controller. What you often will do in here is you'll use this to pass some sort of data between the view controllers, because this view controller the second view can't necessarily see anything from the first view. Okay, so you need to sometimes pass data, and oftentimes you're going to be doing that in this prepare for seg method. It's a little more than I want to do with what we've learned so far, but we will get to that in a later video. At any rate, this has been iOS tutorial 4 on segues.